up, guys, and welcome to yet another tier list video. I'm your host, BC Keen, and today's going to be yet another good one because we are ranking the top 20 best-selling games on the Nintendo DS, one of my favorite systems of all time. You guys probably know this by now. But yeah, in the haven't played category, we have Brain Age 1 and 2, Big Brain Academy, Animal Crossing Wild World, Dragon Quest IX, Nintendods, Professor Layton, and Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. But the rest I have played in some way, shape, or form. So without further ado, let's go and get this tier list started. Alright, so up first we have a good one. We have LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga. So I do think the Skywalker Saga is obviously the best version of LEGO Star Wars, but the Complete Saga on DS, I think the PS2 version, or whatever it is, I think it's PS2, PS3, whatever, is better, but the DS version, I gotta say, it's pretty solid. It's not the best version you can play for this game, but the controls are fine, the graphics look fine. I will say the cutscenes don't look particularly great because it is a lot of like stop motion-esque kind of thing, where it's like static images, not so much like people actually moving. Like you'll see characters like slide across the screen in certain cutscenes. Like you'll see them standing and they'll like slide across the screen like to the other part of the screen. So the cutscenes are probably the worst part of this game. But it's still a pretty solid LEGO Star Wars game. But there are better versions out there, obviously. But if I had to rank this one, I gotta say, I would personally put it in probably like very low B or C. I'm gonna say B. It would be A if the cutscenes were more well animated and if the general gameplay was a little bit better. But it's a solid game. It's a solid LEGO Star Wars experience, but there are better versions of this game out there, so I can't quite put it in A tier. But it's a solid B tier for me for the Complete Saga of LEGO Star Wars. Alright, up next we have one of my least favorite Zelda games of all time, The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass. I'll be real with you guys, to this day, I still memorize very little about that game. Very, very little about it. Like, the final boss, his name is not even, like, in my brain right now, I can't remember it. But, first and foremost, you guys saw my Zelda tier list, you guys can probably guess what I'm about to say about it. But, I hate the controls in this game. I hate them. I don't like the touchscreen movement. I think it's, like, it's fine as an option, but there should be an option for D-pad or, like, some other controls, because touchscrreen Zelda, for me, just does not work. It doesn't. There are some cool puzzles that involve the touchscreen, that's fine, but the general gameplay, I don't like it. Linebeck's a cool character, I'll say that. Sailing, like Wind Waker, is fine in this game, but Wind Waker is better, obviously. But yeah, like, I think on my Zelda tier list, I put it at C tier, but for this tier list, as a DS game, I might put it in D tier. Like, I don't like this game, I'm sorry. There are people who have given arguments for why it's better than people think it is, but I still hate it. Also, what is it called? The Temple of the Ocean King? Fuck that dungeon. You keep going back and back again and again, and it's a horrible place. It is an absolute horrible place. I hate it there so much. The hometown for Link is just kind of meh, like one of the most forgettable hometowns in my opinion. Yeah, there is just few that I like about this game, like very few things I like about it, and it is just, it's very forgettable for me. Like, I think Spirit Tracks, which is not here unfortunately, is a lot better than Phantom Hourglass, but Phantom Hourglass is almost trash. It's not quite F tier. I think it does have some merits to put it out of F tier, but yeah, like, I could see it being in C tier, but I'm gonna keep it in D, because it's not just the game that I hate, it's like, you know, I remember very little about it. Like, the fact that I can't even memorize, like, the dungeons, or the characters, or whatnot, or the final boss even, it's forgettable. Like, I didn't have a good experience playing it, and that's why I remember very little about it. So, Phantom Hourglass for me, sorry guys, it's gotta be a D tier. Oh boy, now we're talking. Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time and Darkness. You guys know I just did a playthrough of Explorers of Sky recently, which is like the expanded version of these games. And Sky is a better version, obviously, but Time and Darkness are still, like, See, I want to put him in S tier, but I don't think... I don't know, because compared to Sky, like, Sky's the best. If Sky was here, easy S tier. But Time and Darkness, I think, are definitely A tier. Like, they're very, very, very close to S tier for me. These games deserve more love, in my opinion. Like, they have one of the best Pokemon stories of all time. The twists, the turns, the betrayals, the reveals, the lore, it's all great stuff. And, like, it is a fantastic story. Like, the newer games wish they could have as good of a story as these games, honestly. Like, Sword and Shield, no. Compared to these games, Sword and Shield is, like, no contest. It's 100% worse. But yeah, I love the soundtrack, I love the characters, I love Treasure Town, I love Wigglytuff's Guild, I love the dungeons, the boss fights are all great. Darkrai sucks, though. I hate Darkrai. Like, any multi-boss fight in this game really sucks. And the later dungeons can be really bullcrap with how they're designed, and all the traps you gotta deal with. But yeah, even with that, these games are just... They're a journey, man. Like, the story is just an emotional journey. The ending, at least for the main game, was... Like, I cried when I played it for the first time. You guys know what I'm talking about if you play these games. But yeah, even the post-game stuff. Like, the post-game quests with Darkrai and Cresselia and Drowsy and the graduation exam and just, yeah, it's all great stuff. And I gotta say, like, the gameplay, I admit, is repetitive to an extent, but I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be sometimes. Like, yeah, it gets repetitive to, like, use attacks over and over again and do the same kind of style, but it was never an issue for me, so yeah. Anyway, these games are great. Definitely A tier. Sky's an S tier, but these games are still definitely high A tier, and these games, if you have not played them, if you own a DS and you have money to buy these for, like, whatever, please play them, because they are so worth it. And also, if a remake comes to Switch, or Switch 2, please play it, because these games, as I just said, are phenomenal Pokemon side experiences. Ladies and gents, we have the first S tier of this list. The one that's dear to my heart, Pokemon Platinum version. You guys know Giratina Origin Form is my favorite Pokemon of all time. It is our community's mascot, the Phantom Kingdom. So yeah, Pokemon Platinum, like, we'll get to Diamond and Pearl in a bit, but Pokemon Platinum fixed a lot of the issues that Diamond and Pearl had, which was the faster animations and bonus content and the Battle Frontier. I will say the Battle Frontier is not quite as good as Emerald's, but it's very, very close. The Distortion World is, like, one of the best locations in any Pokemon game. Love the Distortion World. The music is very unsettling. Love it. The Battle Frontier, I brought that up, is also great. I will say, I think Battle Frontier in this game has one facility that definitely tops any of them in Emerald, which is the Battle Arcade. I love the Battle Arcade. Like, getting to spin that roulette wheel and decide, you know, what happens to each team, or, like, what happens to one team, like, status conditions, or lower HP, or half level, or whatever. That is pretty cool. So, and yeah, just general gameplay improvements, again, faster animations, and, various other quality of life features. So yeah, it's Diamond and Pearl, which, we'll get to in a bit, but, I think that post-game content and Giratina's whole story really elevates this game a lot, so, it's a very special game to me. It's gotta be S tier. I love Platinum. It is fantastic. So it does feel kind of weird that we're ranking Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 before the original games, but, oh well. Black 2, White 2, you guys know. I've said it so many times. It is, to me, still peak Pokemon. Like, if you want the definitive Pokemon experience, these games are it. Like, the amount of content in this game is insane. Like, there is so much in this DS, in these DS games. Like, all the new locations, the amount of Pokemon, the post-game content. Like, these games are insane. Like, really, really insane. The Pokemon World Tournament, getting to fight every gym leader in Elite Four, or sorry, not Elite Four, but gym leader and champion from the previous regions is fantastic. Pokestar Studios, you can make freaking movies in this game. Like, what? It's crazy. Also, the gyms are pretty damn cool, and are still the only Pokemon games where every gym has their own music. Why has no other Pokemon game had this feature? Like, it's such a simple thing to have, and yet these games are the only games that have that. Every gym has its own theme. Like, come on, man. That should be a feature in other Pokemon games, but oh well. I will say the story is not quite as good as the original games, but it's still really, really good. One of the best stories still. The post-game, again, is one of the best post-games of any Pokemon game. There is so much to do, so much to discover and accomplish. And, yeah, I have more thoughts in my Pokemon tier list, which you can go check out on the channel somewhere, but, I ranked every single mainline Pokemon game, so go watch that video. But, yeah, Pokemon Black 2, White 2, fantastic, still peak Pokemon, S+++, all day, every day. Now we go from peak to underrated. I think, in my opinion, Mario Party DS is the most underrated Mario Party game of all time. This game deserves a lot more love. I love Mario Party DS. It is not the best Mario Party, I admit. I think Mario Party 2 and 3 and 1 are all better. I love those games, and the GameCube ones, or at least some of them. But DS is still a very, very solid A-tier Mario Party. Like, the mini-games having all these touch controls, like, some don't like them, I get that, but for me, I had no control issues. Like, they were all fun to play and work with and whatnot. The story, too, in the story mode, with, like, Bowser turning everyone mini, and you have to, like, go across these mini boards, Bowser turns everybody into, like, a mini form, and then the boards themselves are big, so you're, like, this mini character running across these, game boards to, like, do these boss fights. And the boss fights, too, I think are very underrated. I love the Kamek boss fight where you're shooting Kamek with, like, the little ink gun while you're writing the book. That's so cool. The Bowser one is also kind of not that great, but, it was fine for what it was. But yeah, in general, the boss fights are really solid and really enjoyable. So, story mode is really good in this game. And minigames are great, as I said. There's also, I think, little, trophies to get, right, in this game? Where you can get, like, a Bowser trophy for beating the story mode, and then, like, all the boss trophies. So yeah, this game is very underrated. Please go play it when you can. If you own a DS and you can buy Mario Party DS, it's worth it. Like, also, playing multiplayer back in the day was phenomenal. It was kind of slow with, like, the connection and whatnot. Getting, like, games to load up and, start. But it was a fun time. I did this game all the time with my friends in, multiplayer when I had my when that was, like, a thing. But yeah, enough said. Underrated Mario Party, one of the best. I love Mario Party DS, and, it is definitely a solid A tier. So you guys know that I'm not a huge fan of Super Mario 64. I did a playthrough of it not too long ago, and it made me realize that I'm not a huge fan of it. It is my least favorite 3D Mario game. But 64 DS, while it's not that much better than the original game, I do think it is better than the original game, which might be a hot take. I've said it before. I think DS is better than the original, for various reasons. There's more content. The controls for me, like, people don't like them. I get it. Like, using the D-pad for a 3D game is kind of finicky. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I had no issues with it. I really didn't. Like, turning does feel a bit weird. But in general, like, wall jumps are better. Like, platforming's better. The camera's a little bit better. But yeah, the issues that I had with the original version are fixed in the DS remake. They are. Better controls, better camera, better overall gameplay. Like, I know it's a hot take, but I believe that, truly. Like, yeah, but, so there's more bonus stars, obviously. There's, like, what, 30 plus bonus there's, yeah, 30, right? Because there was 120 in the original game and 150 here, so there's 30 more bonus stars. Getting the bunnies is kind of annoying, I won't lie, but, it was fine. The mini-games, though? Dude, the mini-games were so much fun. The Wanted mini-game, like, pretty much every casino game with Luigi was a lot of fun. Love those games. But yeah, it's a better overall package to me than the original game. So, this bad boy's going in A tier, and, I might put it just above Mario Party DS. But yeah, again, I would still rank original 64 in A tier, like maybe like A minus, but to me, DS is the better version. More content, better controls, better gameplay, better overall experience, and the minigames. So, yeah, very solid A tier for Mario 64 DS, the better version of Mario 64, in my opinion. Whew, okay, now we have another peak Pokemon game, Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver. I think I've told the story before, but I was not a huge fan of Johto originally, and then these games came out, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I love Johto. Like, these games are what remakes should be. BDSP was kind of a flash in the pan. They were kind of mid overall. I do like BDSP, but, and Oras was one of my favorites as well. But, in all honesty, if we're talking Pokemon remakes, nothing beats HeartGold and SoulSilver. These are one of the peak Pokemon games. Definitely S tier, right below Black 2, White 2. I know some might put it above Black 2, White 2, and I understand that. But for me, it's not quite there for Black 2, White 2 to surpass it. But it's definitely still S tier. Again, putting Johto and Kanto into one game is still mind-blowing to this day. The graphics use, obviously, the Diamond and Pearl engine, and they look great. The soundtrack, remixed, or remastered, I guess you want to call it that, is really well done for the most part. The Team Rocket theme, dun, 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 dun. You probably hear it in the background because it's playing during this this video, but it's fantastic. But yeah, they're just really good Pokemon remakes, and they do everything right pretty much. They're not perfect. They have some things you could probably nitpick about them. I did not own the Pokewalker when these came out, and I still don't own one, but I hear it was a good experience, so if you have one, let me know in the comments, and let me know how that was. But I never owned one, so I can't really comment on that. The whole Pokewalker experience. But yeah, again, if you want more opinions on these Pokemon titles, go watch my Pokemon tier list I did way back in the day. I ranked every mainline Pokemon game. I have more thoughts over there, but as far as this tier list, enough said. S tier Pokemon games, and not quite Black 2 White 2 level, but they're right there. But they're still one of the peak Pokemon titles. So yeah, it still feels weird that we talked about Black 2 and White 2 before Black 1 and White 1, the original games, but yeah, OG Black and White is still S tier. Black 2, White 2 have a lot more content, but at the time, man, like Gen 5 felt like it wasn't a renaissance, but it was kind of a return to form in some ways. Like, we had fully animated Pokemon, we had this amazing soundtrack, a fully 3D, well, not fully 3D, but like 3D in that aspect. But yeah, just, also the Pokemon list, there was 156 new Pokemon in these games, like, even more than the original Kanto decks, like, what? And I will admit, they're not all that great. I mean, some aren't, some are kinda, eh. But for the most part, the designs in this game are pretty good, and, the mascots too, Reshiram and Zekrom, are also great. The story, in my opinion, you guys, is still far and away the best Pokemon story of any Pokemon game. Far and away. Like, I love Explorers of Sky's story and Time of Darkness. Those are great, obviously, but if we're talking peak Pokemon storytelling, Black and White is it. Easily. The whole story with N and Team Plasma, peak. Plus that cool twist at the end where you go to fight the champion and then N beats him and then you have to go into Team Plasma's castle to like take him down. And you fight with the legendary Pokemon. It is great. And the cutscenes too are all fantastic. Like, oh man. Again, if you want more thoughts, watch my Pokemon tier list where I rank for your mainline game. But yeah, Black and White and Black 2 White 2. The entirety of Gen 5, in my opinion, is just peak Pokemon altogether. Great stuff, great content, great storytelling, great characters, great soundtrack. S tier all the way. Alright, on to Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Now, I will say these games are going to get a solid B tier for me. And here's why. They're above LEGO Star Wars, but here's why. I love Gen 4. You guys know this. Gen 4 is one of my favorite generations. I love Sinnoh. Platinum, though, we did mention fix a lot of Diamond and Pearl's issues. The biggest issue that Diamond and Pearl have is the very slow animations. Like, they are really slow. Like, during a Pokemon battle, when you see the Pokeball, like, open up, and the Mon comes out of it, it is very slow. Like, it is draggy as all hell get out. But yeah, they're still solid. I do think the reason why Platinum is S and not, like, A is because Platinum's new content is, like, almost peak Pokemon. Diamond and Pearl has a pretty okay post-game with the Battle Tower and whatnot, and the whole, like, you know, Battle Zone stuff. But it's not... Like, it's good. But I think Platinum expands just a bit more on that, and, you know, it has more content, obviously. But yeah, I would say Diamond and Pearl, you know, they're just really solid experiences, but, you know, compared to every other Pokemon game, they have to be B tier, because they're not quite, like, they're just below A tier for me. I think if the animations were a bit faster, and there was a bit more content to explore and chew on, then they might easily be A tier. But yeah, what I will say, though, as the debut for DS Pokemon, they did their job. Easily. Like, the touchscreen controls were well implemented, the graphics looked really great at the time, so I will admit, they did a great job of, showing us what a dual-screen, Pokemon game could look like, and it was fantastic. But, in hindsight, they could have been a bit better than what they were, and they were very slow-moving Pokemon games, so they had to be B tier. But, yeah, I still love them, but Platinum is a better version by far, but Diamond and Pearl are very solid B tiers for me. Oh man, if you guys remember a while back, I had a very extensive argument, I think either on stream or during a video or something, where I was like, which game to me is better, Mario Kart DS or Double Dash? And I love Double Dash, but after some thinking, I gotta say, I think Mario Kart DS is peak Mario Kart. Now, I know, 8 Deluxe has a lot more tracks, a lot more characters, better graphics, and, you know, DLC, obviously. But there are some things that I think DS has that, other games don't have. I mean, the biggest thing is the mission mode. Where is the mission mode? They got rid of it. It was gonna be in Wii, but then they cut it out, I guess. But, I love mission mode. It was such a cool little side mode, like tackling these missions where you have to, like, either get coins or, you know, race like a Wiggler or something at one point, or a Goomboss from 64. But yeah, like, there is some content that was here that is not in the other Mario Kart games. Also, the emblem maker. You can make your own emblem and put it on your cart to then, like, you know, showcase to the world, and it was a cool feature, and they just got rid of it. Like, why? It was such a cool feature, man. Also, Mario Kart DS has some of the best tracks of the entire series. Tick-Tock Clock, peak. Waluigi Pinball, peak. Delfino Square, not quite peak, but definitely up there. What else? DS Wario Stadium, that was a good one. DS Bowser's Castle is very underrated. I love that Bowser's Castle. It's not one of the best, but, it is underrated to me. Rainbow Road, not one of the best, but also underrated in my opinion. But yeah, if we're talking, like, overall content and overall, like, you know, lasting potential, I think 8 Deluxe is the king of that. But in my opinion, Mario Kart DS, even with 8 Deluxe being, like, fully done now with the DLC out, I love 8 Deluxe, but to me, Mario Kart DS is my favorite Mario Kart. Easily. It is easily S tier. Not quite above the Pokemon titles for obvious reasons. I love Pokemon. But yeah, it's gotta be S tier. I love Mario Kart DS. It is flippin' fantastic, and if you missed it, I'm sorry, but this was, see, I could say peak Mario Kart, but 8 Deluxe is out and has DLC now, so I don't know if I can say that, but at the time, it was peak Mario Kart. Like, it was phenomenal. Getting to play, like, local Wi-Fi against friends, great experience. So yeah, it might not be the best Mario Kart, subjectively, or objectively, whatever one you want to use, but to me, it is the Mario Kart I think of the most when it comes to, like, every Mario Kart title, and it's my favorite one in the series still. So, Double Dash, you're right there. You're right there for me, but DS just ekes it out, and yeah, so S tier for Mario Kart DS. Alright, now we end with the best-selling game on the DS being the original new Super Mario Bros. Now, I think we all agree that this series lasted a bit too long and got stale really quickly, but the first game I will say is maybe my favorite in the new series. Like, for a lot of reasons. The multiplayer mode where you're like tackling, where you're like fighting one-on-one to get stars and you're like trying to beat the shit out of each other. Fun mode. The bosses too. There's no Koopalings. No Koopalings here. They're all original bosses. We got Mummy Pokey. We got the Moltank. We got Lackey Thunder. Like, finally, no Koopalings. They're all original bosses and they're all pretty fun. I gotta say, I don't think the boss fights were really bad. Besides Bowser, I think Bowser could have been a bit better than he was. He was very, very basic. But even with that, like, the world design was great. The levels were great. What I will say is I think Mario Bros. U and Luigi U have better level design overall. Like, I think Mario U has, like, or is, like, the king of, level design. But, in terms of, like, content in general and just overall experience, I think DS is the best version of the new Mario Bros. Series, and it's my favorite. So, I'm putting this bad boy in A tier. I gotta say. Like, very, very low A tier, but it's definitely A tier for me. I love this game. Like, I didn't like Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS. That was kind of mid to me. Wii was fine. U was fine, I guess, as well. But, if we're talking the best game of the new Mario Bros. Series, the first game has to be at the top for me. It has to be. Like, I love this game. Also, before we forget, I was doing some thinking earlier. I might put LEGO Star Wars in C tier. Because, again, it is the DS version. It's probably one of the worst versions of that game. But, yeah, so, there we go. Well, that was quite fun. We ranked some pretty good DS games today. We had none in F tier, by the way. We had no F tiers. Hourglass gets right there, but it's just missing F tier because it has some merits to it. We had 1 in D tier, 1 in C, 2 in B, 5 in A, and then a lot in S. So, DS has some pretty good titles, I gotta say. But, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, ring the bell. Let me know in the comments, what do you want to see next for tier lists? Best-selling Wii games, Game Boy games, 64 games, other consoles or systems, and I'll see what I can do. But until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys!